All right, welcome back. Today's video is going to be focused on the axle. This is for the Audi B8 or 8.5. My problem is up here. For me, when I was driving, usually under load, so as the car's going forward and stuff, I heard a lot of ticking and clapping and stuff. Got underneath it, looked. I had a ripped boot. When your boot's ripped on your CV joints, it'll allow the water, the moisture to get in there, kind of drain out the grease and oil, and even put some little rock debris and little dust and dirt and stuff in there. So it's just not good. So when you see that, service it right away or replace it. So today we're going to replace it. I don't usually work on German cars that often. Now that I had this, I've had my fair share. So you will need what they call a triple square bit. So stuff like this. I got these on Amazon, and these as well. Well, I went to Harbor Freight for these because you're going to need a 17 millimeter hex for your center hub bolt right here. So I'll walk you through all that. This part was provided by TRQ, 1AAuto.com. I always get my parts for that, OEM replacements. It's not the actual OEM brand, but it's really close to. I've never had an issue with their parts. So this car is super low. In order to start jacking it up, I had to drive onto a brick, but now I can get my jack in there. So going forward, it should be pretty simple. I'm gonna loosen up the lugs, take the wheel off, and then I'll walk you through the steps. Okay, thanks to YouTube magic, it's actually a couple days later. Turns out the video that I've seen, they said this is a 17 millimeter. It's not. For a B8.5, this is a 2014. So I needed a 19 millimeter. There's a lot of kits that are around that vary from, I'm not sure, maybe 10 millimeter clear up to 17, and then it jumps 18, and then it supplies a 19. I didn't buy that kit. So remember, this is from Harbor Freight. If you'd still be interested in this kit, I will have it down in the comments or in the description, a link to it. I'm also going to leave a link to this, and I even got an 18 millimeter just to add to the collection because I don't want to run into this situation again. So if you need the tool, might as well buy it. This was relatively cheap, I think $7, but this is the one that you're going to need. It's a 19 millimeter, H19. So we'll put it in there and loosen it off. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, I think it's fair to mention, go ahead and apply your emergency brake. That way it holds your wheel hub. All right, once you get your axle bolt out, go ahead and turn it all the way to the right or left, depending on your axle application. So right here, it's gonna be a 5 millimeter. Take that out, this is your speed sensor. Once you unplug it, take out that 5 millimeter hex, then you should be good to go. It's gonna pull it out and clear it. You don't wanna damage that. Then we can move forward into the little bolts on the axle. You're scared to give it a little wiggle. There you go. You can choose to clean that off when you put that in. Go ahead and put it up top and get it out of the way. I like to put the bolts right back where I got them just so I don't kick them around and lose them. I've done that in the past. There you go. Now, we turn the wheel back. I'm gonna turn this one all the way to the left. That way it's gonna give me a lot of room in the back end over here to access those bolts on the inside. Remember now this is going to probably be the annoying part, but when you go to loosen those, this is going to want to spin. and then you're not going to be able to take them off. If you got a good impact wrench and impact gun and you can get in there, I'd probably prefer that. All right, so you should end up with 6 of these. That's the triple square head that you need to get the special sockets for. So now that all 6 of them are done, the wheel speed sensor is out, the axle nut's off. I'm gonna try and extract this axle without, well, I'm probably not gonna be able to do that. You're probably gonna have to take the ball joints, loosen those up, pop those out in order to get the axle out. So we'll do that. All right, so right here, you're gonna have a bolt that goes all the way through this. Your 2 top ball joints right here, they pop out. Be careful of this. It can be brittle at times. You don't need to pry in the gap here and try and stretch it open. You're probably gonna break this and, you know, cause bigger problems. If you want to, go ahead, but I suggest you don't. So we loosen up this bolt, we'll pull it all the way out, and then we'll knock up on the ball joints right here, knock them out of place. This should free the whole knuckle, and that should be able to get the axle out. I did fail to mention during the video that the nut and the bolt on this are both 16 millimeter. That took a lot of finesse. I skipped through all the fighting. I let that some penetrant soak in there for a little bit. Just be patient at it. Again, you don't want to pry inside that gap and possibly break it. I got me a pry bar and stuck it up right in here. Knocked them 2 ball joints up. Anyway, now we got plenty of wiggle room to get this axle out. So at this point, you just kind of maneuver it. There's no right or wrong way necessarily, but you know, just kind of finagle it, pull out as much as you can to pop that axle loose. The back end, or actually probably the splines, you're going to want to pull out of the hub first, and then you'll be able to walk out the axle.
There it goes.
All right, so as you can see, the back pretty flat. It's got like a cup that sits in there, so all that stupid fighting and stuff that I was doing, it's because it's seated in there pretty good over the years, obviously. But from what you could tell, that's where your 6 bolts, seats in there just fine, and then your spline portion that goes in your hub. This was my issue right here. So anytime your boot rips, that's a bad sign. Same thing goes with ball joints. Anything that that has this boot on it, this rubber boot, the purpose of this is to be able to be flexible and encase all of the grease. There's quite a bit of grease, believe it or not, that goes inside these. When you lose the grease, and you can probably see in there, those little U-shaped areas. Let me try and bend it. Nothing but gunk and grit. All the water over the time. Who knows how long this has been ripped, but all the water flushed out all the grease that's supposed to be in there. And then dirt and debris get in there, and it ends up scoring up the bearings. It's not a smooth thing. This is supposed to work smoothly, and obviously without the grease in there and you're putting water and grime in there, it doesn't make it smooth. So that's the purpose of a new one. When you're under there, you might as well check all the other ones. Same thing goes with ball joints. That stuff's supposed to be sealed and full of grease. Here, it sounds like a damn plunger. Alright, so now we just reverse the steps from this point forward. We'll get the new one. Obviously compare them on the bench. You always want to make sure that you side by side them and make sure they're They're the same, even though if you order the same year, make, and model, you know, accidents happen. People package them, could mess up. You never know. So it's good to compare them. Then go ahead and reverse the steps. Apply it back in there. Line up your holes. Put your triple square 10 millimeters all in there. I'd probably do it evenly, kind of like you do a wheel. Just finger tight them and stuff like that. And not sure if you noticed, but I did have to result to the impact. Honestly, that made it a lot easier. You didn't have to apply the emergency brake or anything. Just clapped at it. I didn't think that big thing was going to get in there, but it did. So once you get them all finger tight and pretty good, go back through it. I know there's torque specs and stuff like that on there. I'll look them up and do them and mention it at the end of the video. And then once you do that, put your spline in here, put your end bolt, and just reverse the steps. So that's the process I'm going to be doing. Okay, here is the comparison. This is the new shaft. This is from 18auto.com. It's the TRQ brand. So again, all of my OEM replacement parts, OEM spec, I would say, OEM quality parts, I've never had any issues with 18auto.com. I'm not a plug for them. I'm not sponsored or anything. I never have been. It would be cool to, but never have been. I'm just saying, once you find something that has done you right, time and time after again, you kind of stick with that. So I'm spreading the word, you know. But yeah, they seem to be the same length. This one is obviously stretched out. It's just, like I told you, when I was moving it back and forth. See, yeah, it should not move like that. So there is no more fluid left in that. This thing, very spongy. Takes a while to move back out. Packed full of grease. The boots look great. I see no issues with this. So it does have a plug in here, so you're going to want to remove that so you can put your bolt in there. But here we go. Go ahead and install it. All right, well, the next step that I have, I made sure I'll walk everything, or walk through everything. But just note, when you go to tighten that axle bolt, make sure that you apply your emergency brake again, just so it holds that axle still. You're gonna put it was tight as shit getting off of it. We're gonna put it on real tight too. So same thing with the inner bolts. I'll explain all that in the end, but I just wanted to note, make sure you apply your emergency brake again so that you can put a good crank down on those. All right, so there you have it. What much talking, going through, putting it back together. Like I said, it's the same process that you did to get it out, but in reverse. On the inner portion, the 6 triple squares, I just tightened them pretty good. Obviously, more than hand tight. I put quite a bit of ugga-duggas on there with the impact. Not sure what the torque spec is. If you want that, you can, we'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and leave it in the description below. That way you already have it. I didn't do that, but I mean, if you want to, feel free to do that. As far as the axle bolt, same thing. I didn't use an impact, but I used the jack handle as a cheater bar, and I put quite a bit of torque down on it. And the top, remember your ball joints, put them in there. I did find that, I found out doing this with my coilovers was a lot easier. Right here are the ball joints. They're pretty close, especially since I lowered it with the coilovers. That video, if you're interested on doing coilovers on this and lowering your Audi B8 or B8.5, I'm sure it's the same throughout the other platforms too, relatively. I'll go ahead and leave that link in the description, or you can find that in probably a series or something, or definitely on my channel. Anyhow, right here, go ahead and line them up in your fender well here. And I just take something, I took a bunch of extensions and stuff and, you know, used my mallet. I wouldn't go crazy. Again, you don't want to break stuff, but it'll definitely seat in there really good. So it's just a little cover on there, kind of like a rubbery plastic. There's another one over there. Other than that, that's the job. Pretty simple. Like I said, just time consuming, especially getting in that little tight space in there. They don't give you much room to work with. I did notice a heat shield. There's a couple screws I probably could have took off and gave myself a little bit more room. Again, just trying to do it as simple as possible, show you that it is possible without doing too much. Any questions, comments, concerns, any ideas, just like all my other videos, I ask that you put them down in the comments below. It wouldn't just help me for future. Who knows, I might have to do the driver's side or the rears. So if you've done this before and you found some other tips or something that I might have left out, then please comment down below. Or for anybody else that's probably scrolling through the comments looking for other people's opinions and inputs. Other than that, I appreciate you chiming in, seeing what the project consists of. So with all that, thank you. Have a wonderful day.